Tomorrow on May the 4th, voters will go to the polls to elect their members in our local authorities, town and community councils. Legislation, policy and settlement distribution, of course, has been the responsibility of Welsh Labour for the past 18 years. Over this time, our residents have seen council tax increased in Wales by 187%. They have also felt severe cuts to our bin collections, closures of public toilets, our libraries and our local community centres. Those living in our rural communities are blighted by the many cuts imposed by this Welsh Labour government, especially the swingeing cuts to community transport, leaving many feeling isolated and in despair. So it is clear that voters will be looking for change and for representatives who will fight their corner, speaking up against such imposing cuts and lack of efficiency in the delivery of their services. Our first amendment highlights the disproportionate cuts to rural authorities. 10% Monmouthshire, 9% Vale of Glamorgan and nearly 8% in Conwy. Council tax remains Wales's biggest debt burden, according to the Citizens Advice Bureau, with residents now facing an increase of 187% since Labour came to power. In Conwy, though, it's 230%. Yet this hasn't prevented Plaid Cymru, Labour, Lib Dems and the Independents from supporting and voting in further increases. Street cleaning and bin collections, noted in Plaid's motion as important functions of local government, have been slashed like never before, yes, by Plaid Cymru and Labour. In Conwy, 4 weekly bin collections and fly tipping, now at its highest in 5 years, is causing huge misery to my constituents, impacting the most on our families, our pensioners and our most vulnerable. Welsh Conservatives are working to protect and safeguard these vital services, pledging to restore bin collections to at least fortnightly, fundamentally opposing further and unnecessary council tax increases.
Okay. She just pledged to restore bin collections fortnightly, which, as has been pointed out already, is a bit of a nonsense really when you should be taking a local approach to this. But this was a promise by the Conservatives in England, by Eric Pickles, and they had to abandon that promise. What guarantees can she give to the people who vote tomorrow that she won't abandon her promise?
Definitely won't abandon them. And the fundamental point here is there hasn't been any cost savings to date since the 4 weekly collections came in. Social services and the care sector in Wales are in crisis. The Health Foundation states that demography, chronic conditions and rising costs will require the budget to almost double to £2.3 billion by 2030-31 to match demand. Yet the lack of vision and investment under Plaid Cymru and Labour has been astounding. The Wales Public Services 2025 programme found local authority spending per person was slashed by 13% over the last 7 years for our older residents. This is a national disgrace, and it would take £134 million more per year by 2020 to get back to 2009 per capita levels. Monmouthshire Council, however, are leading the way with the Raglan project, remodelling the way in which older services are delivered to older people, cutting out waste, improving efficiency and enabling better and easier access. Our amendment recognises the value of those working in our care industry across the social care and health sector and highlights the ineffective day-to-day lack of joined-up services on a continuum. School closures. Since 2006, we have seen 157 school closures under a Welsh Labour government, 60% of these rural. Plaid Cymru-led Ceredigion has seen 20 rural school closures, 8 in Gwynedd, 6 in Conwy, and under the Independents in Powys, 18. Many of these overlooking the consultation process returns, just going ahead mob-handed. As a final point, our amendment calls for direct funding for schools, cutting out the waste, the inefficiency and the bureaucracy of another tier that simply absorbs more in administration, taking away from our children in their own classrooms. Welsh Conservatives will continue to fight to ensure that all children have the opportunity to realise their own full potential. So, tomorrow our voters will not be thanking Labour or Plaid Cymru for continuing service cuts, tax hikes and the destruction of our... They will be looking for those who will stand up for change, to support our children, older people and our family households. Those who will stand up for transparency, democratic accountability and financial probity. And those who will seek protection for our vital services whilst keeping council tax in proportion. Tomorrow the message is clear. Gaysaith Plaid Gai Wedl Cymru, Welsh Conservative Party candidate. You know it makes sense.